Amen. Grab your Bible, Psalm 77. I'm going to start reading it, verse number 9. Verse 9 says, "Has God forgotten to be gracious? Has he slammed the door on his compassion? And I said, this must be my fate. The Most High has turned his hand against me. But then I recall all that God has done. I remember your wonderful deeds of long ago. They are constantly in my thoughts. I cannot stop thinking about your mighty works." I want to use for a subject this morning, but then I remembered. But then I remembered. Psychologists have proven that there is a direct link that happens when people spend too much time reliving and rehearsing their past. The link between that constant thinking about what you've gone through and low self-worth, low self-esteem, depression. They've proven that there is a link, a very, very powerful connection to depression and low self-esteem, low self-worth when you spend the majority of your day thinking about who done you wrong. Okay? Think about that. The things that happened in your past that causes you to be depressed, angry, bitter, comes from you thinking about yesterday. I'm going to talk slow because I want to make sure you get this, all right? And I know you're probably thinking, well, if it's a direct link to how I'm feeling today and what happened to me 5 years ago, the easy thing to do is just don't think about it. And as hard as so many of us try to not think about it, some of our experiences have been so traumatic that we cannot not think about it. As hard as we try. The fact of the matter is, all of us in here, we have a past. Every one of us in here has gone through something that we never thought, one, we would have gone through, and two, we would have never come out of. All of us have a story to tell. We could spend days talking about how we have been damaged emotionally and mentally and spiritually, even physically for some of us. We could spend hours and days talking about how we've been hurt and scorned, misused and abused. We all have a story. And the more you tell that story, the more it becomes ingrained in you. It is woven intrinsically into the fabric of who you are. And after a while, when folks see you, they see the story that's associated with you. I've been hurt so many times. Well, there's Cory. He's been hurt so many times. He's been beaten so many times. Yeah, there's Cory. You know that guy right there, Cory? That's the one he always talk about how much he's been beaten. And we are known by our story because we've told it over and over and over and over again. And the funny thing about us is we want to know how folk get in our business. Because after you tell your story so many times, you might as well put it on a billboard on Highway 29. Because now everybody know you by your story. Here's the thing, and I know you don't want to hear this, and if you don't write down anything else today, I want you to write down this. The harsh truth that surrounds everything, somebody say everything. Everything that we have experienced is this: you were supposed to. Told you it was going to be hard. It was assigned to you. Everything that you've encountered has been a part of your overall plan and purpose. Everything. The hurt, the abuse, the misuse, the sickness, all of it was a part of your plan. God, that's hard. Because, Pastor, you don't really know my story. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what I've had to lose. You don't know what I've had to feel. I don't need to know. What I do know is you're still here. Because what you didn't think you could survive, you are still here. You're still here. Let's keep going. I know that that's hard, but guess what it has done for you? The very thing that you thought was going to take you out and you survived it, it created a power in you that cannot be taken from you. It has helped you become the person that you are today. The strength, the power, the resilience, the fortitude that you are today is a result of every one of the trials and tribulations that you have experienced. James 1 says, brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for joy, because when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. Everything that you have gone through was to help you become that strong somebody that you are today. Think about it. Your sickness, your betrayal, your hurt, all the lies that you at one point was crying yourself to sleep over, was hurting so bad that you lost 20 pounds in 30 days. Look at you now. Look at somebody and say, take a look at me now. 6 months ago, I didn't look like this. 5 years ago, I didn't think I was going to look like this, but look at me now. I'm strong and I'm confident. I've got resilience. I've got power. So everything that you've encountered was necessary to make you who you are today. So here, let's talk for a moment more. Once you understand that it is necessary, the moment that you can accept that as your truth, something happens. When you accept the fact that this was necessary, there's a shifting that takes place in your mindset. That shifting that takes place shifts you from being a victim to an overcomer. when you start remembering the things that you think happened to you, after you accept the fact that it was necessary to get you to where you are today, that shift means that you realize that you are no longer a victim of your circumstances, but you are an overcomer. Oh, y'all didn't. The more you lose the victim's mentality, the more you stop asking, why me, the more empowered you become. Maybe I'm talking to some folk that ain't never been through nothing today. The more you lose that victim's mentality and that why me mindset, the more empowered you become. The more empowered you feel, the more you shift from a story to a testimony. Don't clap yet. I got some good stuff I'm going to give you. Save your clap for later. The more you shift from a story to a testimony, the more empowered you feel. So let's talk. I'm going to give you some definitions, or well, just one definition. So the definition of a testimony is this. It is a statement given to prove or provide evidence by the existence of something else. A statement given to provide evidence or proof by the existence of something else. 7 years ago, was in an accident. And I could tell you about that accident that would probably yank a tear right out of your eye socket. I could talk about that accident and how my truck flipped 3 times on 29. And I could tell you how afraid I was and how bad that was. That's a story. But when I tell you that my truck flipped 3 times, me and Cam walked away from it without a scratch or anything, that's proof that God is a protector. You see the difference? Do you see the difference? When I give a testimony, I become the proof that God can do exceedingly and abundantly. When I give a testimony, I don't need your pity, I need your praise. You see the difference? I don't want you to know me by a story that I tell. I need you to know me by a testimony that I give. Revelations say we are overcome by the word of our testimony. You want to stay depressed? You want to stay a victim? You want to keep having low self-worth and low self-esteem? Keep telling your story. But when I realized that I wouldn't be here being the person that I am today if I hadn't gone through what I went through, my mind shifts and I no longer am associated with a story, but I am known for my testimony. Anybody got a testimony in here today? Anybody in here can testify that God is a healer? Can anybody in here testify that God is a provider? Can anybody testify that God is a way maker? Can anybody Somebody testify that God is good. We've all been through some mess, but it took the mess to give us a message. Let's keep talking. Here is the thing. I believe that while you're sitting somewhere reliving your past and thinking about how bad life has been for you, when you think about what you're going through and think about how somebody hurt you or damaged you, I get all that. I get all that. You've got a right to do that if that's what floats your boat. But here's what else I believe. I believe that while you are remembering about how bad life has been for you, you think, you ought to think about just for about 30 seconds about the reason why God has left you here. You ought to think about how good God has been in spite of. Because here's what happens when you give your testimony. Your testimony is proof that you're bigger than everything you ever been through. Y'all don't want to have church, because here is what I know. When I give a testimony, my testimony is bigger than all my grief. My testimony is bigger than cancer. My testimony is bigger than being broke. My testimony is bigger than the heartache and the heartbreak. My testimony is bigger than the divorce, because what should have taken me out couldn't take me out, because I'm bigger than that. And you got the nerve to want somebody to feel sorry for you. And you're here? You got somebody feeling sorry for you. And you're still here. Why do you need pity when you are proof that you're bigger than the hurt, bigger than the lies, bigger than the deception? Why do you need pity? I'm looking at overcomers. I'm looking at victorious people. I'm looking at folk who cheated death. I'm looking at folk who survived accident. When you give a story, you give a story about what you're going through. When you give a story. When you give a story, you give a story about what you're dealing with, what you've been through. Oh, but when you give a testimony, I don't talk about what I've been through or what I'm going through. When I give a testimony, I talk about what I done come out of. Anybody ever come out of anything? Anybody ever made it through something that you didn't think you were going to make it through at the time? Anybody ever had to keep a smile on your face when it seemed like the smile was snatched out of your soul? Anybody ever been through something? Here is what Asaph said. Asaph wrote this song. Asaph, you go back up to verse number 1 and start reading. Asaph was in a very dark place. He said, let me just do what I know how to do, and I'll write a song about it. And that's what we do. We sit down and put words to our pain, write a song about it, and we sing that song all the time. Can't carry a tune in the bucket. But when you start singing the song of all your woes, you sing like Leoton Price. Asaph says, God done forgot about me. I cry out to him and he don't even act like he listening. Go back and read it. He says, I keep praying and he's turned away from me. All I want to know, God, is whether or not you're hearing me. Asaph was feeling mighty low. I can't even get a prayer above my situation. I keep seeing things happen. Folk keep walking out and folk keep leaving me. They keep talking about me. I need you, God, to show me that I am being heard. Around verse 10, he said, oh, well, I guess this is my fate. I guess it's just meant for me to be sad all the time. I guess it's just meant for me to be crying all the time. I guess it's just meant for me to be broke and upset. I guess it's just meant for me to be alone. This must be my fate. But then something happened. Asaph said, hold up. I wasn't created for this. Hold up. That might be somebody else's story. But I know how good God has been. And here's what Asaph did. Give me a second, Jeremy. Give me a second. Here's what Asaph did. Asaph said, if I can't think about something good God has done for me, I'm going to think about how good God been to somebody else. If I can't think about one thing God has done to bless me, I think about my ancestors and how he brought them over. Can you, for a moment, if you can't think of a reason to give God some thank yous for yourself, think about what he's done for somebody you know. When I look out across this congregation, I can see where God has healed. I can see where God has blessed with new homes. I can see where God has blessed with new cars. I can see where God allowed folk to get into college and get out of college. I can see where God has healed from grief. I can see folk walking who couldn't hardly walk. I can see. So when I think about how bad my life might be, and I think about I really don't have a reason to thank him today, I can look out at y'all and something happen, my hands go. Asaph said, I'll think about what God has done. He said, then I remembered that if God didn't give up on my mama, he ain't gonna give up on me. If God healed my sister, he can heal me. If God brought my cousin out, he can bring me out. If God blessed my coworker with a new house, he can bless me with a new house. All of a sudden, Asaph went from telling a story to giving a testimony. All because he remembered the goodness of God. Y'all stand, I'm finished. Listen, y'all, if you would spend half as much time thanking God for what you've come out of, your entire life would change. Half, just half. There are folk who would love to tell your story. Folk, if you were to go and complain to them, they would laugh you right out of their face and say, is that all you've been through? You really are complaining about that? You're complaining about the fact that you got to go to work in the morning? And I've been trying to get a job for the last 6 months. You really complaining about that? You gonna complain because you ain't got but $100 in your bank account, and I don't even have a bank account? You gonna complain that you got to get on the bus and go across town when where I live, it ain't no buses out there, so I can't go nowhere? Do you see how petty we are? If you spend half, just half, as much time thanking God for what you do have, instead of complaining about what you think you don't have, your life will change. So here's my challenge for you. Every time there's a negative thought in your head this week, I just want you to start saying thank you. Because here's what's going to happen. The devil don't know if you thanking him for what you're getting ready to get or thanking him for the negative thought. Why are you thanking him for a negative thought? I ain't thanking him for a negative thought. I'm thanking him for the positive one that's coming afterwards. Oh, my body is hurting so bad. Thank you, because healing is on the way. Say this with me. This week, I will experience God's goodness. Every aspect of my life will be touched by the goodness of God. I expect this week that God will do more than I can ask or think. My testimony will be the proof of God's goodness.